going to make a sewing trash caddy. 2 pieces of material cut. They are 12 by 18. You need 2 pieces because we're going to sew them first individually. And what we will do is go to the machine, sew the right sides together. But before I sew, I will go to the iron and I will turn it down 1/4 of an inch and then 1 more 1/4 of an inch. Both pieces will be made exactly alike. Once we have pressed our pieces on the edges, I will sew up the sides, but I will not sew the flap that I've ironed down at this time. That way I don't have a lot of stitching, repetitive stitching, because once we get this sewn down the side, we will come back and this seam will be our back seam. And this will be our trash caddy. And then we will box everything. Then one piece will fit down in the other. Once we have our back seam stitched, you're going to have a sleeve. The next step would be to take the sleeve and place the seam in the center, which will be the back. Then we will stitch across the bottom of both of these. Then you're going to be left with this small envelope. The next thing we need to do is box the corners. Again, you're going to fold your seam side the way you actually sewed it. You're going to lay it down. You're going to flip out your corners. It looks like a little square. I'm going to flip those up. We want to come down 2 inches, which this is my 2-inch mark. So we're going to come down 2, and we're going to mark it. Then we are going to draw a line. You will do that on the opposite side the same way. Now we are going to sew across the lines we just marked. We will go to the cutting board and we are going to cut the little triangles off. We will insert one of these into the other. One will be turned inside out and we'll just see how they fit before we do any stitching. Now we want our seam again to be in the back, and you can see how we've squared it on the bottom. Let me pull it out here so you can see that. That's called boxed. It's a pretty way to fashion things. Here's the back side. Just to try this out, I'm just going to put it in here and see how it works. Okay, it works pretty good. What we don't want is any raw edges. Finished on the bottom, finished on the top. Now to do this, in order for it to be a trash caddy, we don't want it to be collapsing around. So I have taken and I have cut, this is polyester boning. What we will do now, we will drop down about 1 inch on the machine and go around and stitch all of this all the way around. Once we have stitched that, we will go back and make a top stitch, leaving one little section open. That way we will be able to feed our boning through it. So at this time, I'm going to go sew these together, but before I sew that, remember this little piece here. I'm going to go to the machine because I will want this before I make the top stitch on here. I will want this piece inside of it. Anyway, push your corners out with it. Now this seam or stitch, you want to go all the way around. And we're coming up on the start point. We will go up here and we will lock in that stitch. Okay, now it's right there. I'm going to keep pushing it enough to get this pushed and let it circle back on itself. And now you have your little sewing trash caddy or craft caddy, whichever you prefer. This is how it will sit. So here's the one we just made. Here's a prior one. It's full of trash right now. But it's flat, and the weight of this machine holds it down. And this one here, I started looking at this one. I'm going to open these back up and put the batting in this section here, so I can set this end under my embroidery machine. I should have been thinking about that. So I have this one here now with the pincushion on it, in handy when I'm using the embroidery machine. And then I have the one over here. But that's how you make a little caddy. I use it for trash, but you can use it for anything else. And it's a fun gift if you make one for someone. Inside and out looks the same. The only thing you need to watch is if your fabric has a certain orientation to it, you want to make sure that it works out for you. You wouldn't want to have a design that's right side up on the outside and then it's upside down on the inside. You'd want to match those up. And that's how you make one.